Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at two games that I played for my most recent tournament. Um, yeah, the time control here is G90 plus 30, so each side gets 90 minutes with a 30-second increment per move. And yeah, we're just gonna get into the games. So my opponent starts off with the move E4, and I play the Caro-Kann with C6, which I have decided to play during this tournament since, I mean, if you've seen some of my videos, you'll know I've been playing Sicilian, but that opening really is not like fully fleshed out, so I thought this was something that's more in my comfort zone, more like something I know, so I decided to play this. And my opponent goes D4, I go D5, very reasonable stuff, and my opponent decides to play the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. And now we're going to get into a lot of theory, which is a little bit irritating. I would rather have these games not have this much theory, but you know, it's chess. And I go bishop f5, my opponent goes for the h4 tall variation. The idea, if you haven't seen the tall variation, is e6. If I go e6, then my bishop gets trapped like this, and I have no squares for my bishop. So I have to play a move like h4 or h6. I know like queen c8's a line, queen d7 might be a line, a6 is a line. There's a ton of like really interesting stuff in this variation. But the move that I normally play is this move h6 because I find it to be a very good move. I find it to be a lot of fun. My opponent goes g4, which is what they normally play, and this is all theory. Bishop e4 first to induce the move f3, and then I come back to h7, and my opponent normally here plays the move e6, which on the surface is a pawn sacrifice, but if I take this, most of the time black loses here, do the move bishop d3, and after captures, my opponent is getting quick access to the g6 square, where after a while my king gets ravaged and I lose the game due to the fact that my pieces are very underdeveloped. So you can't really take that, and the move here is this move queen to d6. My opponent takes on f7, king takes f7, and my opponent goes with the move f4, which is a line, and this is where my theory stops. This is where my theory ends, and I play the move knight to f6. I know this is the best move. I'm sure of it. But the issue is that I've never looked farther than this in my theory, and you might have seen this position before if you've followed this channel. I have a video called Tactics in the Tall, which is about this line, where my opponent ended up playing this move at g5, which loses, which is kind of fun. But instead, in this game, my opponent plays the best move, which is a move that I have never seen in my life. Most of the time, in all honesty, most of the moves that I've seen are like bishop g2, maybe knight c3. There's a lot of like interesting moves here. But my opponent plays this very interesting move that I've never seen before in my entire life. This move, knight to f3. And when he played this, I was so taken aback. I did not know what to do, because yeah, it's a pawn sacrifice. Knight takes g4 is a free pawn, and it's a gambit. It's a gambit. But after knight f3, I sat down, I calculated for like 20 minutes, or like 20 minutes, because I had blitzed out the rest of my moves, and normally I just play for e5 and I have a good position, but this was terrifying, and I had to figure out something quickly. If I took on g4, what I ended up calculating, I thought that like the move bishop h3 was really strong for white, and I thought, you know what, oh man, this is just awful. I'm gonna have to if I go h5, he gets the knight in here, I thought, and if I go like back with the knight, then I mean I'm going backwards, he gets the knight in here, and at the end of the day I thought, okay, black is busted here. This is game over. I don't know what I'm doing. So I decided not to take the pawn, and I thought for a while, and I found something very creative that I thought was really smart. The idea basically is, like, if I play like knight e4, for example, which is a move that I'd like to play, I thought the idea was knight e5. I probably have to go to like king to e8 or something, and I'm just worse. I'm just worse here. I'm gonna try and remove the knight, but then he's gonna get this nice pawn clamp in my position, and at the end of the day, this bishop is gonna be like weak, and it's gonna be hard to get out. And I thought, you know what, I'm probably losing in that position. So I ended up thinking for a while, and I thought I found this really interesting move that just loses. I play knight to d7, knight bd7. And the idea is that it stops the move knight e5 check. But it doesn't stop the move knight e5 check, which my opponent promptly plays. Knight e5 check. And of course, like on the surface, like if I were to take this, which happens in the game, it looks like I'm getting forked here. But I calculated, and I thought, you know what, I don't think that it's the end of the world. After takes, if he takes like this, I have this check. He has to block with, not the bishop, he has to block with a knight, and then I'm going to get knight e5, and I'm going to be like probably slightly better. And if I take and he blocks with this pawn, also, if he doesn't block with a knight, he blocks with the bishop, I simply fork him on e5 with the king and the rook, so I'd be winning. And after he takes with the f pawn, I briefly thought, okay, queen e6, you can't take my knight, and the next move is very easy, knight e5, I'm going to put the king on g8 maybe, and yeah, I thought, okay, my position is, like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, I'm doing okay, and I thought, okay, he's going to play bishop e2, and I'm going to play knight e4, and it's a game. This is what I thought. I thought he's going to play bishop e2, I'm going to play knight e4, it's the game. But my opponent in this game decided that he knew everything about chess and played this game at 100% accuracy. I'm not lying, he did play at 100% accuracy this game. And after queen e6, my opponent promptly played the move bishop to h3, and I started freaking out. I had no idea what to do here. Basically, the idea is, okay, he's defending the pawn, right? He has this idea g5, first of all, which is not going to work for me. And a secondary idea is that he wants the castle, which is just awful because his rook aims down at my king and his pawn is now unpinned, so I would just be losing a knight in that variation. I thought for a while, a move that I considered briefly was this move g5, which is the best move. The idea is, yes, it loses a pawn, but like at the end of the day, now he can't play g5 himself, and I'm gonna be able to get some quick play here. The computer even gives bishop e4, and black is better. But then I kept thinking, basically what my opponent would do is just castle, like he would just castle, he would give up the pawn, win the knight. But then I kept thinking, and I just thought I was losing in that line, and I am. So I tried to find something better. And at the end of the day, I had nothing better to do than just bluff. And I played the move knight e4, which obviously loses. It just loses. There's nothing I can do. The move knight e4 is basically just like a Hail Mary. Like if he doesn't see the move, then I'll be fine. Like if he castles here, for example, I go king e8 and my position is okay. But my opponent wasn't born yesterday and doesn't fall for my bluff. Instead of doing that, he realizes, like I had, that the queen is trapped, and he plays move g5. And it's just one move after another, and I'm just completely losing. There's nothing I can do. G5, attacking the queen. The queen actually has no squares, none back here. This square is protected. These squares are protected. The bishop is defended. And if I go here, he's just going to play the move h5, and my queen is trapped. So the only move I can play is bishop f5, which I play, but I mean, this is easy. He just takes, and rook f1, and I simply resign the game here. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to lose my queen, and then in the end, I'm just going to lose the game. 90 minutes is enough time for him to win the game, and I simply resign the game, which was a terrible start to my second day in the tournament. But I had another game, so I had to keep going. And this game, like the other, is also decided in the opening, which is just awful. This is round 3. I'm playing with the white pieces against someone much higher rated than me, 1950. So I'm not that sad that I lost this game, but Yeah, let's get into it. I play d4. My opponent goes f5, and I've been playing this line recently, which is just a lot of fun. I've been playing this move queen to d3, which is trying to get into this really sharp gambit. And after d5, the move here is this move g4, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, it gives black a very slight advantage, but this is the gambit. It's very interesting. Basically, white is going to sack 2 pawns and get massive play on the king side and probably be a lot better. As you can see, I'm down a pawn, but I'm like winning. um, Instead of that, my opponent already shocked me on move 3. And you'd be surprised to know I spent 30 minutes on the first 5 moves of this game. 30 minutes, which is just insane. I don't even know how this happened, but my opponent out-prepped me in this opening that I knew like pretty well. My opponent played e5, a move that, in all honesty, I don't think I've seen online, just in normal games. I might have seen it before, but I don't think I've seen it online. Um, and I thought here for like 10 minutes. I thought here for a decent amount of time because I didn't want to blunder. I didn't want to have like a repeat of round 2, which I just showed you. I didn't want to do anything like that. So I I thought for a while. I ended up taking the pawn, which is the best move. And I had some serious ideas. I want to go here. 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 I want to go g4. I might want to take in the future. I want to go f4 in some lines. Like, there's so many lines. And after move knight c6, which I expected, I have to deal with all of that. And I spent 20 minutes on my next move. And I am calculating everything. I'm calculating gf. I'm calculating g5. I'm calculating queen g3. I'm calculating the move c3. I'm calculating bishop f5, g5, coming back, sacking the pawn, and then just trying to go for like this or something, which I thought was pretty cool. But it's all just there's so much to calculate. I calculated knight f3. The move f4 I thought wasn't like the best move. I thought even like queen h4, queen g3, and like this line is just not the best for white since my knight can't develop. True, it's not, but there's just actually so much here that I had to consider. The top engine moves here are queen g3, gf5, and g5. Those are top engine moves. And I thought for a while here, and I decided, okay, at the end of the day, by the way, I was scared of this. This move is actually kind of scary because then my queen has to go back to d1. So that's why I was considering moves like c3 and a3. But I thought for a while, and I ended up playing this very just normal move. And it's not a bad move. It's not the worst move in the world. There's a lot of worse moves in this position. I play the move bishop to g2, which I on the surface really isn't that bad. Sure, it gives black a very slight advantage, like minus zero point 0.4, minus zero point 0.5, and yeah, that's considerable. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to go for some normal play, and my opponent takes on e5. And my idea was, okay, I'm going to trade the queens. I'm going to take on d5. The queens are going to get off the board. And, like, he's going to get his pawn back. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be very reasonable, very normal, like, position. And I'm not going to... It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. That's kind of my analysis here. It's just going to be fine. And it is kind of fine, but then there was knight f6, which was a good move. And I thought for a while here... Again, I'm spending a lot of time in the opening. I'm not confident about myself, but in this position, I really can't be. I really can't be confident since I was caught out of the opening, and my opponent probably has like Stockfish theory. Not at this point, I don't think. I think my opponent is out of theory at this point. But I thought for a while about where to put my bishop. Should I bring it back to g2, or should I bring it to b3? Or even should I play knight f3 and defend it, or should I play knight c3, or should I play c4 and defend it? Like there was a couple options here. The computer says bishop b3 is the best move, which I really considered. But at the end of the day, I thought that the move bishop g2 is better. Because here I'm targeting this pawn, and now he can't really develop his light squared bishop as easily as he wanted to. So I had like a decent plan here, but bishop b3 makes the most sense since I'm stopping him from short side castling, And the next kind of moves are pretty easy. Also, I'm defending the c2 pawn, very important. This move is coming. Maybe long castles. This pawn, I don't know. He's probably gonna take. But basically, I'm just gonna get my king safe, and I'm gonna be fine. And I should have played bishop b3, but it said bishop d2, and it's not a bad move. My opponent plays fg4. Another very, very accurate move. Very, very good move here, fg4. Saying that, okay, my pawn is like doubled, yeah, but like now your knight can't develop, and that's honestly really, really, really bad for me. And I can't even get my knight to e2 with like e3 and knight e2 because of the move knight f6, which is another big problem. And like that is honestly more of an advantage for black than a liability. That's what I thought, because if I try to attack it, my opponent can always defend it with the bishop, and it just gets really bad. I thought here for a while about how to develop my pieces, because I didn't want my bishop out on this diagonal for some reason. I thought that like here maybe was good, but then he's just gonna play bishop e6. If I go here, am I really doing anything? Like, I don't want to take the knight, because then his pawns are simply undoubled, and then I mean, I thought I was worse there. And I thought for a while, I ended up playing this pretty interesting move, b3, which is honestly looking for too much. I'm looking for too much here. Like, yeah, if black has an aneurysm and lets me play all the moves I want to play, I'll be better. I'll go here, I'll go like here, I'll go castles. I'm gonna be better. But black isn't gonna have an aneurysm. They're gonna play the moves pretty well. And actually, already bishop f5 is very, very good for black. And I thought like bishop b2, I would play some normal chess, but actually here the computer already gives a minus 1.5 advantage after this, like knight d2, and just long castles. And actually, yeah, I'm losing. This is literally game over. This is literally game over here. Crazy. But my opponent doesn't do that. My opponent makes a bit of a mistake. He plays bishop d6 first, defending his knight in the center, so then bishop b2 doesn't come with tempo. And I think here for a while, I think here for a very, very long time, the only move that I can play, and I thought about this move, which I'm honestly kind of happy that I actually looked at this. The only move here that actually lets white live is the move bishop to a3, which I was looking at, and the reason why I said no to this is because I didn't think that it was that good. I thought obviously after takes, white is slightly worse. White is slightly worse because my knight is a bit offsides. But in all honesty, I thought this was okay. The reason why I really said no to this, I couldn't figure out if like c5 was good for me or not. Like doing this c5 and then like bishop back to b2, and I couldn't figure out if this was good for me. Here I just develop my knight. I just go knight c3, and I'm doing good because I'm gonna castle with tempo. But that's, yeah, okay. I guess I should have realized that. But instead, I simply developed my knight. I played knight c3. Very reasonable move. I'm just developing my knight. I'm keeping everything together. I'm obviously looking at bishop f5, trying to win this pawn, but I didn't think it was that reasonable right now because there's like this move. But at the end of the day, I saw some kind of scary things, like after bishop f5, and I take, and then rook b2, and I go back, and then he takes, and then I go like bishop b2. I can't go bishop b2 because there's like knight c5, knight c4 here, and it's just really, really not happy because the pawn is pinned. And there was just like some seriously bad lines here. So I thought for a while, my opponent ended up playing the move bishop f5, which is a good move. And I thought for a good bit here, but I couldn't find anything. The only move for white is this move knight b5. Crazy. I didn't even consider this. I didn't even consider this move. I wasn't looking at this at all. I was just trying to figure out how to develop my pieces. Really, I was trying to figure out how to develop this knight because I can't go with this. I can't go with this because it's knight f6 and like this line, and then this pawn isn't that much of a weakness, but my pawn is. Like this pawn is a weakness. This backwards pawn. If he goes knight here, he comes here, and this pawn is a massive weakness. And I was just scaring myself. I was scaring myself. And I ended up playing this move e4, which is really, really aggressive. But in all honesty, it's just a huge weakness. It's just a huge weakening of the position. I thought about it for a while, and I couldn't really figure out anything. This is like the only move I could even think about. And I calculated a couple things. I calculated bishop g6, and I played bishop b2, and I would go long castles, and I thought it was like a game. It's actually not. I'm just losing. Because of this pawn is actually just a huge liability. Because the knight can come here in some lines. But I also calculated this line that my opponent played. He played bishop b4. I thought about this, and I thought bishop d2, I'm going to be okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. I'm going to be okay. I can't play bishop b2 because then the pawn is pinned. After this, I would be losing. But at the end of the day, after bishop d2, I'm still much worse. There's nothing I can do. My opponent goes bishop g6. I think here for a little bit. The only move I have, again, is this move a3. My opponent's giving me a lot of chances. And after like this, I could play, I thought I could play b4 even, and like, I don't know, maybe something like this. But here I'm just worse. It's just kind of sad at this point. It's kind of sad. I didn't think anything of a3. I ended up just thinking, okay, I'm gonna castle long, and then at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna have some play somehow, and I just don't. My opponent castles long as well. I realize what he's threatening. I spent some time here, and I realize what he's threatening, which is just a tough move. If I play, I don't even know a random move for white. I don't know. I guess a4 is a random move. My opponent can play this move rook d2, and if I take with the king defending this knight, my opponent has, I thought this move, rook d8, and I would have to go back and I'd lose my my knight. I thought that was what he was threatening, and I'm right. And it really freaked me out when I saw that. Maybe I could have done something better, but I don't think so. I played another Hail Mary here. I played knight d5. There's nothing I can do. Basically, knight d5 is, okay, I'm going to resign in a couple moves. Just play a couple more moves, and then I'll give up. My opponent goes bishop a3, king b1, takes the pawn, and I come back with the knight, defending my bishop. Takes, and simply knight e4, and I just resign. My bishop is attacked. I can't move my bishop because I lose my rook. If I can't defend my bishop, I'm just going to lose the game. If I go here, he can take, and after it takes, he has checkmate. Like, there's nothing I can do. There's simply nothing I can do. And yeah, that was round 2 and 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this entertaining. That's all I have for you today. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, to learn what things YouTubers tell you to do. And a lot of these games just, I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to do better than this. Like, I know my skill is better than this. And maybe I should work on my openings. That's what this tournament is telling me so far. The last tournament told me to work on my end games. But I mean, it's just depressing when you lose like this. And 3 losses in a row is just awful. I have 4 more rounds. Actually, 3 more rounds because one of my opponents withdrew. So 3 more rounds, and hopefully I can do something and not just lose again. Either way, that's it. Good evening and good night.